The story begins with a quiet, eerie night in the small town of Maybrook, where the clock strikes 2:17 a.m. and the camera slowly pans across rows of suburban homes, their windows dark and still. 17 children from the same third-grade classroom at Maybrook Elementary, each one slipping silently out of bed, their eyes wide and unblinking, rise as if compelled by an invisible force. They dress without a sound, their small feet padding across creaky floorboards, and exit their houses one by one, vanishing into the foggy streets without waking their parents. The scene intercuts between their synchronized movements, a boy pausing at the door to glance back at his sleeping family, a girl clutching a stuffed animal before dropping it on the lawn, their faces expressionless yet determined. No alarm sound, no door slam. They simply disappear into the night, leaving behind empty beds and a growing sense of dread that permeates the town as the first hints of dawn break. The narrative shifts to Justine, Julia Garner, the children's teacher, who arrives at school the next morning to an empty classroom, her face paling as she checks the roll call, her voice echoing in the silence. Where is everyone? The principal, Marcus, Benedict Wong, rushes in, his expression grave, confirming the mass disappearance. 17 students gone without a trace. Justine's mind races with guilt and confusion, recalling a recent lesson on parasites where she showed a documentary on cordyceps fungus. Parents flood the school, their accusations turning toward her. What did you do to them? As police cordon off the area. Justine retreats to her apartment, poring over student files, her hands trembling as she uncovers subtle patterns in their drawings, all depicting a recurring figure, a woman with wild hair and a wig. The scene builds tension as shadows lengthen outside her window, the town's suspicion coiling like a noose around her neck. Archer, Josh Brolin, father of missing boy Matthew, wakes to an empty house, the clock frozen at 2:17 a.m. on his bedside table, a detail that gnaws at him as he searches the neighborhood, calling Matthew's name into the dawn mist. At the school, he confronts Justine, his voice breaking. You were the last to see him. Tell me what happened. His grief raw and accusatory. The police dismiss him as over-emotional, but Archer refuses to wait, driving through the woods near the school, his headlights cutting through fog like knives. He spots a child's shoe in the underbrush, his breath catching as he follows a trail to an abandoned house, where he hears faint whispers, children's voices chanting in unison. Peering through a cracked window, he sees them huddled around a woman, Gladys, Amy Madigan, her face obscured by a wig, feeding them something dark from a bowl. Archer bursts in, but the children turn on him with unnatural strength, their eyes vacant, forcing him to flee as Gladys's voice echoes, They belong to me now. Paul, Alden Ehrenreich, a local cop with a quick temper and a history of domestic issues, is assigned to the case, arriving at the school with coffee in hand, his partner Terry briefing him on the disappearance. All at 2:17 a.m., no fourth entry, no ransom. Paul interviews Justine, noting her nervous demeanor, and questions Archer, dismissing his wild tale of possessed children as hysteria. Files reveal Gladys's history as a former resident with a cult-like following, her expulsion from town years ago for unnatural practices. Paul's pursuit intensifies as he tails Marcus to an old church, where he witnesses a gathering of townsfolk chanting, the air thick with incense and secrecy. James, Austin Abrams, a drug-addicted drifter living on the town's fringes, wakes in a rundown trailer, needles scattered like fallen stars, his veins itching for the next fix. The disappearance hits close when he recognizes one child's face from his sister's old photos. The boy was her neighbor. James, haunted by his own failures, scavenges for cash at a pawn shop, trading a stolen watch for heroin, but the dealer mentions the witch in the woods as the cause, a local legend about Gladys controlling minds. High and paranoid, James wanders the forest, hearing children's laughter that draws him to Gladys's cabin, where he peers through a window and sees her mixing herbs in a bowl. The children seated in a circle, their eyes glazed, She notices him, her voice a whisper through the door. "Join us, lost one." And James flees, the drugs amplifying his terror as shadows seem to pursue him, leading him straight to Paul at the gas station. Marcus, the school principal, maintains a facade of calm at faculty meetings, assuring parents, "We're doing everything we can." Gladys reveals her plan, using a parasite-like ritual to control the kids. Her voice steady. "They'll be my army against the town that shunned me." Marcus, torn between loyalty and fear, recalls his own child's involvement in the disappearance, his hands shaking as he agrees to bring more. The scene cuts to him at the gas station, buying snacks to steady his nerves, where he encounters Paul, exchanging tense words about the investigation. Marcus's lie slipping as he mentions 2:17 a.m., too casually. The timelines converge at the gas station. Justine arrives for cigarettes, her nerves frayed, bumping into Archer, who demands answers about Gladys. Paul pulls up, arresting James for loitering, but a call from dispatch reveals Gladys's warrant, prompting Paul to head to her cabin. Marcus watches from his car, sweating as he dials Gladys. They're closing in. What do I do? Inside, Justine confesses to Archer her fear of being blamed, while James, cuffed in Paul's car, mutters about the witch's brew. The scene builds dread as thunder cracks, the characters' paths intersecting unknowingly, each carrying a piece of the puzzle. Hair clippings in Marcus's pocket, child's drawing in Justine's bag, setting the stage for the unraveling horror. Paul storms Gladys's cabin with backup kicking in the door to find the missing children seated in a circle, their eyes vacant, bowls of murky water before them. Gladys stands calm, holding a twig, chanting, "The weapons awaken," as the children rise in unison, their movements synchronized like puppets. Paul demands, but Gladys explains her ritual, using hair, blood, and natural elements to weaponize the children against the town, a revenge for past shunning. The kids attack, their small hands surprisingly strong, scratching and biting as Paul fights them off, horrified. Archer and Justine arrive, drawn by the commotion. The children, under Gladys's control, swarm the cabin like a horde, their chants growing louder. "For the forgotten," as they overpower Marcus, tearing at him with unnatural ferocity. Paul shoots warning shots, but the bullets seem to glance off their determination, one child lunging at Justine with a shard of glass from a broken bowl. Archer shields her, getting slashed across the arm, blood mixing with the ritual water on the floor. James, freed from cuffs in the chaos, grabs a branch and strikes Gladys, disrupting the spell momentarily, the children pausing as if strings cut. Gladys retaliates, dropping a hair clipping into the water to command Paul, his gun turning on his own partner in a trance-like state. The scene a whirlwind of possession and betrayal. Archer goes into basement to see his child Matthew, but the scene fucks up. Cut to Alex, who do the same thing to backfire the black magic biting Gladys's hair into the stick suddenly. The children backfires on Gladys biting and slashing her. The movie end. But cliffhanger stucks by showing Matthew's eyes close up. Do like and subscribe.